I'm Tom Johnson, Thomas Johnson Antique Furniture Restoration in Gorham, Maine. Thanks for tuning in as I continue the restoration of this oak table. Last time I took the table apart, I sent it out to the strippers. Then I did numerous repairs to it, including I added glue blocks to the apron, I filled the defects with wood putty, and then sanded it to prepare it for staining. And that's where we left off. So let's rejoin the action now as I wind up this sanding process and get ready to stain the table. These are the kind of marks that I'm interested in, these dark marks. And I'm not going to try to sand them away, but before we treat it with oxalic acid, I want to get the surface ready. I have to do something about these pins. Okay, I just need to do that 25 more times. I'm going to do all new pins. I do have a little problem here. It happened on the first one. This is a sliver of the old dowel, which means by definition that I did not drill it perfectly. I'm going to drill with a smaller bit and then dig these out so that the hole absolutely is the same. I'm going to have to be careful with these two. You know, I'm setting up to try to drill a smaller hole because of my concern over the accuracy over here. And I'm looking at these things and I'm wondering if I can't pull them out. I'm going to apply heat and see if this thing will come out of there. Well, that worked sort of well. I have the original hole, that's the important thing. I think I'm going to pull them out. I think I need to do something better. I may need to pre-drill it for the screw because the screw itself kind of expanded the table pin. So I'm going to drill it, put the screw in, and then see if it'll come out. I don't even need the, may not even need the heat. You can see that this one is loose in there. All right, this is working really well. It's really important that these holes be exact or you'll have a problem getting the leaves together. So this is excellent. I don't even need to use heat. So I'll proceed now and do all the leaves and the tabletops. This also gives me an opportunity to scrape and sand these edges with no pins in the way. Now I'm just scraping and sanding these edges lightly. I just want to get rid of the superficial stuff. I don't want to get rid of the original mill marks or the numbers. Anyone that thinks that you can run these over a jointer, rejoint them and make the leaves and table halves fit together better, it ain't going to happen. You'd be opening up a huge can of worms. Best leaving everything the way that it is. I almost forgot. I need to drill these holes deeper so that they accommodate these new pins. Okay, I think I got the routine down. Check this out. Well, I've only got about 20 to go, but really this shouldn't be a problem at all. This worked out well. I'm glad these pins aren't glued in. It's funny, I never glue leaf pins in myself, and I'm glad to see somebody else feels the same way. Doing my last section here, and I remember these aprons are too long. They stick out past the center of the table. I noticed that when this came in. What's happened is very common. Over the past 100 years or so, this tabletop has shrunk, and of course wood doesn't shrink across its length, so these stick out. So the two halves won't come together. If you're using the table with a leaf, you wouldn't notice that, but I've got to trim these. So where I need to cut is on the underside of this blade right here. Now, after all that clamping, let's see if I'm still in place here. Yeah, not bad. Okay, so the idea here is that this blade will now serve as a guide for my cut. I'm going to switch from a Dozuki to a Kataba. This back spline is getting in the way. pretty cool. Little outline of the molding there. Okay, now I can set that leaf pin and do the others. Okay, I've got everything sanded to 100. Now I'm going to treat it with oxalic acid. Throughout all these sections there's just random spots and dark rings and stuff. This is just hot tap water. Our water is pretty hot. I'll use roughly 4 tablespoons in a quart. The measurements don't have to be precise. It's always great when the black marks go away instantly. Great, it's not going away instantly. Well, that one didn't go away instantly, but it's fading. Let's try another one. Okay, maybe instantly was too strong of a word, but those rings did disappear right before my eyes, so I'll take that. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. 2 things to note. Number 1, the 2 main sections of the table appear to be lighter than the leaves. So we'll think about that. Also, you'll notice, especially on this section, that the water looks very fisheye. And this could be an indication of problems ahead with contamination. Okay, I've let everything dry overnight, and now it needs to be rinsed really well. And Ella's tied up well away from the work area. Okay, we'll let all this dry overnight. Okay, this is actually dried for a few days. Everything looks good. Now, using that same double pad sander, I'm going to sand with 150. My first couple of passes will be at a 45-degree angle to the direction of the grain. We've treated these tops with water. It has a tendency to raise the grain. It actually didn't raise much in this old table, but it's a little fuzzy. So imagine water gets on the grain, swells it up, it dries, it's sticking out. If you sand in the direction of the grain, you're going to push those fibers right back down where they were, and they will come back up later. So the first pass is at a 45. You're hoping to roll those the fiber over and cut it off. ever lean anything against a rolling bench, it's a really bad idea. There are all these split outs along this edge. That's very characteristic of oak. I'm going to fill them with Familwood. I think if I were to make a 3-hour video of me sanding the rest of this tabletop, there'd probably be people that actually watch it, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm done sanding. Now it's time to stain. So I'm going to use a oil soluble dye stain. This is from Lockwood's Standard Oak. That means I can mix it in some paint thinner, actually all kinds of solvents, but I'm going to mix it in some paint thinner, and then also add some natural wood stain to the mixture. You're supposed to weigh this stuff, but so you let this dissolve overnight, and in anticipation of that, yesterday I mixed some up. Now this is a double strength. This is 2 tablespoons by volume in 8 ounces of paint thinner, but I'm going to make up the difference by adding some of this wood stain too. All right, let's try it on one of the leaves. Yeah, I think that looks good. That's definitely the original color. I think they were buying their stain from Lockwood's also. Yeah, that's very much the color. Okay. I'm going to turn on the fan and stain this leaf, see what it looks like. foam brush doesn't work so well on the moldings. Okay, I will let the stain dry overnight. All right, top looks good. Ready for the first coat. I'm going to get the first coat on the top, and I'm not using a different kind of sealer or anything. I'm just going straight to this tung oil varnish. You can see it's trying to fisheye in places. But wherever I see the fisheye, I'm just smoothing it out, and it seems to be staying smooth, at least for the present time. All right, we'll let these dry overnight. All right, it's dried really nicely overnight. Now, I think I'm going to make, the color looks great. I think we might be making some color adjustments. But in the meantime, before I do anything else, I'm going to turn these over and put a coat on the bottom. I didn't show this when I was sanding the table, but I turned all these over, cleaned the bottoms, and just gave them a quick sanding. I don't really want to change them that much, but I think they should have a coat on them, even though they never did originally. A word about these foam brushes. I never wanted to use these. I never liked the looks of them, but I discovered that they work great for this particular finish. Now, people refer to these as disposable brushes, and I never use anything with the word disposable attached to it. I hate that. But I discovered that they wash out. You can wash them with soap and water, hang them up to dry, and I'll probably just use one brush for this entire job. I'm wondering if this isn't more of the original color. It's not so golden. I don't know what you call it. Very amber. We're going to have to look at that later. This is more like the color on the top. This is dried overnight, dried well, but of course, being just the first coat, it dried unevenly. I think you'll be able to see it here. So I'll just give it a real light sanding, another coat, then these bottoms will be done, and tomorrow I can get back on the top again. All right, everything dried just fine. It looks good too, not too shiny, it's soaked in, quite a bit. The customer's coming in today to discuss the color, so it's time to get started on legs. As you can see, there's a lot to this job. We'll pick it up in my next video.